right, man. Welcome back into the channel. Today, we're going to continue our way too early divisional prediction series. And today, we are talking about the AFC North, man. The North's going to be a fun division this upcoming season. I think that there could be some surprises. So let's get into it. Starting as always with the 2025 recap, the Pittsburgh Steelers won this division last year at 10-7. The Baltimore Ravens really floundered 8-9, missing the playoffs. The Bengals 6-11, also missing the playoffs. And the Cleveland Browns 5-12, finishing in last place. And when it comes to my fourth place prediction, yeah, I am going to roll with the Cleveland Browns in this spot. I'm actually not sure if I'm committed to keeping them here in fourth. I do think it's possible that they kind of surprise some people and actually move up to third, but I just need to see how the offensive depth chart shakes out as this off-season camp loads, and we see what people are kind of saying about the quarterback play especially, but even just how the wide receiver room and running back room is going to shake out with the Judkins injury. But we'll start with the quarterback position. I don't know who's going to be the quarterback. I would have assumed going into the season that it would be Shedeur Sanders, but I've seen a lot of motion on Twitter this offseason talking about Deshaun Watson potentially getting the job, and we haven't seen Deshaun Watson, I feel like, play football in over 2 seasons. So, one, how good could he be? But two, what does that say about the other quarterbacks in this room if a guy we haven't seen play regular season ball in forever is just winning the starting quarterback job? So, I'm not sure if that's like smoke or if that's real or what Todd Monken's doing with this team as he comes in to be the offensive head coach, because I do think that the offense under Todd Monken likely has some high upside for success, but it's just a weird situation in the quarterback room that I just have to see unfold right now. And it is the Browns. Sorry, Browns fans, but like predicting you guys to be bad feels kind of fair at this point in time. Quinshon Judkins at the running back position should be fully healthy this upcoming summer, which I think is absolutely crazy, because if you guys saw that ankle injury, it was absolutely brutal. But before that, this dude was a dominant back, so I'm excited to see him back out there alongside Dylan Sampson. I think that's a really good 1-2 punch at the running back position. And the Browns like overhauled their offense, man. Last year, their wide receiver room was Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, and like Isaiah Bond, who they signed like a week before the season. This draft, they got Denzel Boston and KC Concepcion at the wide receiver position. 2 guys that I think were round 1 level talents, and 2 guys that complement each other super well. KC Concepcion, one of the most explosive players in this draft, a great return person, and just a really solid receiver in the open space. And Denzel Boston, your typical big body wide receiver, outside, throw it up to him at the hash marks, a red zone threat. And they overhauled this offensive line, which absolutely needed it. They brought in Titus Howard. They brought in Elton Jenkins. They drafted Spencer Fano, who is going to play left tackle for them. Like a really big overhaul of the offensive line. And I skipped over tight end, but Harold Fannin, an absolute beast last year. Like you look at the young weapons that this offense has: Boston, Concepcion, Judkins, Sampson, Fannin, Bond. Judy's not too old at this point in time. If Shedeur could figure it out and like he is the guy for this team, they could be cooking. But also the Browns could be in a spot where it's like, hey, we're bad this year, but we get one of those top quarterback prospects and combined with our good defense, like we're going to the playoffs as early as next season, and that could really happen for Cleveland, especially when you look at this defense, man. Of course, you got the best offensive player on the planet, Myles Garrett, leading the way, who just came off of a season in which he sets the sack record. He's just an absolute freak of nature, man. Mason Graham on the interior, solid piece as well. Schlesinger coming off of winning Defensive Rookie of the Year at the linebacker position. You add Quincy Williams next to him. You still have Denzel Ward. You still have Tyson Campbell, who you traded for last year. You have Ronnie Hickman and Grant Delpit, who I do think one of those 2 guys might actually be traded to make room for Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Like, if you guys remember my draft grades video, or if you're new to the channel, I had the Browns as the winners of the draft. They got an A+ level draft from me, man. Fano into Concepcion, into Boston, into McNeil Warren. I thought their first 4 picks all could have gone in the first round. Getting first round value with 4 straight picks to me, like that is what the Browns are doing. Like you could argue they have won back-to-back drafts. It's only a matter of time before this core figures it out. But the 2 biggest question marks are quarterback, because who the hell is going to play it? And head coach, can Todd Monken do it? I'm excited to see some reports on this team as the offseason continues and get a better look at where they're going to be. But for now, I gotta have him in fourth. Finishing in third, maybe a surprise to some of you, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. I think it's time for a little bit of regression for Pittsburgh in the post-Mike Tomlin era, man. And I almost think a little bit of regression could actually be good for the Steelers. I've been saying it for years now, but one step back for two steps forward for this team if they could just nail down the quarterback position. Speaking of which, it looks like this year it's going to be again Aaron Rodgers, who, listen, I think Rodgers is overhated sometimes, but I thought towards the second half of last year, he really started showing his age. And I get it, it's the Texans defense, like they just beat the crap out of anybody, but he really looked bad in that game. They did draft Drew Aller, who like has a Josh Allen level ceiling, so I'd be excited to see him play this year if he can get out there. The Steelers got a lot of good pieces though, man. Jalen Warren, Rico Dowdle in the running back room is really solid. The receiving room, DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman, Jeremy Bernard, like that's a big leap for this team as well. Some really solid pieces here. Freiermuth and Darnell Washington in the tight end room. I think that they're doing the right thing in terms of how they're shaping their offensive line. Broderick Jones with a neck injury and then just poor play. You can't really depend on him. Fatanu, kick him over to left tackle. Draft Ian Achor to be your right tackle of the future. You have Zach Frazier as your center of the future. Mason McCormick at right guard. You know, could you work on left guard? Could it be better than Spencer Anderson? Yeah, but they drafted Jennings Dunker. Like, I think the Steelers could have an offensive line set, really good running back room, and some solid receiver play that if they're good this year, because hey, like we got you a good O-line and got you good weapons, Aaron Rodgers, I wouldn't be surprised. But also, if they were bad this year, they're kind of an ideal landing spot for one of these quarterbacks. And again, I think this upcoming season, this draft has the potential to see like 7 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Could be setting records at the position, and Pittsburgh could be grabbing one of their guys. On the defensive side of the ball, I love Derek Harmon, TJ Watt's still a dog, Cam Hayward back again, the ageless wonder at defensive tackle, Patrick Queen, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, Peyton Wilson, Cole Holcomb at the linebacker room. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw one of those guys move before the season started, just because it's such a log jam there, and you think maybe they could add some draft capital for 2027 to move up and get their quarterback of their choice. You know, maybe Seattle's like, hey, we'll give you a 27 second, and then they compare that second with the first to move up and get. I'm just, you know, we're off talking here. Joey Porter Jr., Brisker, Jamel Dean, Jalen Ramsey, Deshaun Elliott. Like, the Steelers have a really complete team, and having them at third does feel like, am I doing the right thing here? Betting against the Steelers, is that like actually a successful model in the post Mike Tomlin era? Like, they bring in Mike McCarthy, but we know like this guy's got a history of being good. You reunite him with Rodgers, most likely that's like kind of where we're all leaning is going to happen. Maybe by the time you're seeing this video, it actually already did happen. And you start to think about what Pittsburgh can put out there. They were 10-7 last year, and you look at this roster on paper, and it does feel like it could be better than last year. So predicting them to take a step back, even though you think the roster could be better on paper, is my math truly mathing? I don't know, man. And don't get me wrong, having them third in this division, I don't think it means like they won't be a playoff team. I think they could be third in this division and win 9 or 10 games. I do just think that Cincinnati and Baltimore took leaps this offseason, that they have higher ceilings than Pittsburgh, and I'm going to kind of project them to reach there. We'll talk about it when we talk about it. But if you're a Steelers fan and you're like, hey, man, like we won this division last year, got better, and now you're predicting us to come in third, like shove it. I get it. I get it, man. And hand up, like, it doesn't feel great, but it's just kind of where I'm at. And then we get to a pick that I don't really love, and I'm not sure if I'm falling into a trap, but I got the Cincinnati Bengals coming in second in this division, and I do think that they'll be a playoff team this upcoming season, man. The Bengals made a pretty clear effort this offseason, I think, to address some of the things that were holding them back in previous seasons. You can't control it all. You can't control injury, which is, of course, a big question mark for their quarterback, Joe Burrow, who is the leader of their offense. But when Joe Burrow's right, man, he's a top 3 passer in the NFL. And don't hear what I'm not saying. I didn't say a top 3 quarterback. I said he's a top 3 passer of the football. The accuracy, the ability to hit at all 3 levels, the pocket navigation, the quick trigger, the decision making. Like, this dude is an absolute elite quarterback when he is on the football field. And what Cincinnati has given him to work with in terms of weapons, Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, the best wide receiver in the NFL. I said it once, I'll say it again. Jamar Chase, the best wide receiver in the NFL. T. Higgins, a top 3 wide receiver 2 in the sport, who was absolutely eating in the second half of last season with Joe Burrow. Yoshivas, Gesicki. I loved the pick of Jack Endress, man. Like, he was a top 5 tight end in the class for me. They got him late, and I think he's like the prototypical Mike Gesicki replacement. The offensive line, it's not great, but it's not terrible anymore. Orlando Brown Jr., Fairchild, Karras, Risner, Mims, Cody Ford, like, it's all right. I think it's serviceable enough that as long as Joe is smart about not taking sacks and getting rid of the ball, that he should stay upright. The run game should be able to make some motion, and the offense should be able to move the ball, man. And we saw it 2 years ago when Joe Burrow's healthy. Like, it's just a top tier offense in football. There's just no other way about it. You look at the defense. Now, this is where the most turnover happened, and we'll start with the big trade, Sexy, Dexy, Dexter Lawrence. They traded the number 10 pick in this draft for Dexter Lawrence. In hindsight, they could have gotten Caleb Downs with the pick. Probably wouldn't have traded it if they had known Caleb Downs was going to be there, but you can't control what you don't know. Anyways, at the end of the day, I think that they got fair value, and I think that they needed a big defensive tackle in the center of that defensive line, and Dexter Lawrence is still that dude in my opinion. He did regress a little bit last year, so you run the risk of, like, are we buying this guy at the start of the downward trend, or did he just hate playing for the Giants? Like, they feel he hated playing for the Giants, and I think that that is fair. You pair him on that interior defensive line next to Jonathan Allen and B.J. Hill, two, veteran players. You look at the edge rushers now. They signed Boye Mafe. They still have Miles Murphy. They drafted Cassius Howell, a player that I absolutely loved in this draft. Shamar Stewart from last year. And this defensive line has like 7 guys now that you're like, okay, I'm excited about that. And again, where are games won and lost? In the trenches, and having a good defensive line, if you're Cincinnati, really matters. The linebacker room, like Oren Burks and Barrett Carter, like, it's not pretty, man. It leaves some to be desired. The secondary might be the make or break for this team. I love DJ Turner. Dax Hill is fine. Jalen Davis is cool. At safety, you have Jordan Battle, Brian Cook, who I really love, and Kyle Duggar now. So the goal for Cincinnati is, can they be a top 20 defense? Top 20. If they can be ranked 15 to 20th defensively, they'll be a playoff team. And Joe Burrow being healthy. And I know that's a couple ifs there, but that's what it takes. That's what they had when they went on their Super Bowl run. That's what it takes. Can Cincinnati generate enough motion with their defensive line to create a top 20 to top 15 defense in football? And if so, when that offense is out there, they're humming. They're a top 5 unit in football. Top 5 to top 10. And to me, I believe that the Bengals this offseason did enough to make that happen. To me, the only question now about Cincinnati isn't on talent. It's not the talent side of the ball. The last couple of years, I thought they don't have enough talent, even if Joe Burrow stays healthy. I mean, shit, we saw it in 2024. Joe Burrow was healthy, and that team missed the playoffs. This team right now has enough talent. But it's a matter of, can they keep Joe Burrow upright, and can they keep him healthy? If not, we're going to see some real questions about Cincinnati this offseason and what their direction for the future looks like. But if so, they got a shot. And we talked about the Niners a couple videos ago where I said it's a volatile range of outcomes. I feel the same way for Cincinnati. If I told you, like, yeah, Joe Burrow injury riddled, offensive line didn't hold up, defense wasn't what you thought it was going to be, they won 6 games. Would you be surprised? Probably not. But if I told you it all clicked for Cincinnati and they hoisted a Lombardi, it's not a 0% chance. And then finishing in first place, I have the Baltimore Ravens, man. I think the Baltimore Ravens have one of the best rosters in the entire NFL. I'll say it again, stand on 10 toes, say it with my chest out. The Baltimore Ravens have one of the best rosters in football, and I thought this offseason they pushed their chips on the table. They made strides to be all in, and yeah, it's another Super Bowl or bust season for Baltimore. We'll start with the offense. Lamar Jackson. 1, dude has to stay healthy. 2, has to play better than he did last year when he was healthy, and there is a little bit of a real concern there with Lamar. Like, when he was healthy last year, he was not the guy that he had been. He was not the all-pro, the multiple-time MVP, the superstar quarterback. Like, he was kind of a shell of himself last year. Now, I agree, Ravens fans, he was playing hurt. I am betting on Lamar Jackson to get back to who he was 2 years ago, but we can't dismiss the possibility that maybe he's taking a step back athletically, and if so, he has to take a step forward as a passer, but we will see. The ageless Derrick Henry is still at the running back position. I was actually talking to my roommate about this the other day. If Derrick Henry had another monster season, like 1,800 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns, and Baltimore like went on to win the Super Bowl this year, I think Derrick Henry has the case for the greatest running back of all time. I'm not saying I'd put him there, but he's got a case. And if that's the guy that you got in your running back room, I think you're doing fine. The receiver room got a little bit of an upgrade button in the draft this year. They still have Zay Flowers, who's the clear-cut wide receiver one. You still have a guy like Rashad Bateman as well, but you draft Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt. I think Surratt makes the better early on impact and probably better this season, but Jacoby Lane, a prospect, I'm interested in seeing how he grows. You still have Mark Andrews. You did lose your center, Tyler Linderbaum, but you drafted Vega Ioane in the draft. Obviously, the offensive line probably gets a little bit worse there, but I think it's serviceable enough. And then you bring in Declan, who was the former offensive coordinator for the Bears, but he wasn't calling plays. Now he gets to be the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, but he gets to call plays because Jesse Minter's in at head coach. And speaking of which, freaking love that hire, man. Freaking love Jesse Minter to be the head coach of this team. I am firmly 10 toes down on, like, John Harbaugh was massively overrated. And part of the reason that this team was being held back, like, I think Jesse Minter is an upgrade over John Harbaugh, which I think to some people is an unpopular opinion, but Ravens fans watching this video will probably agree with me. And then you look at the defensive roster. Nnamdi Madubuike, we'll see if he plays. Like, I think he's supposed to, but obviously, it's a what if. They brought back Calais Campbell. They drafted Zion Young. You still have Mike Green. So, like, the edge rushers are fine. Travis Jones, John Jenkins is a solid room as well. You still have Roquan Smith on this team. Oh, forgot Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson, how did I miss it? ESPN's got him listed as a sub linebacker on their depth chart, which, like, I guess is fine, but to me, he's more of an edge. So, like, the edge rushing room of Madubuike, Trey Hendrickson, Zion Young, Calais Campbell, you can play him inside, you can play him outside, and Mike Green, like, one of the best in football, right? You do question a little bit how they hold up against the run, but when you have a Roquan Smith back there, like, I think you'll be just perfectly fine. The cornerback room, Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphrey, Shadubie Awuzie, fine, but like they're one injury away from having some real concerns there, but I guess get there when you get there. And a safety room of Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks is really, really interesting, man. And you start to look at this roster on paper, and if you believe like me, Lamar's going to get back to what he was a few years ago, then you should believe it's Super Bowl or bust for Baltimore and that they could really get there. I don't buy into the fact that last year was kind of the beginning of the end for this team. I think it was a bit of like a reset year where like now you got a premier offensive lineman in the draft in Vega Ioane, and you were able to draft Zion Young early enough in the second round. And then you put that on the top with like you have Henry still, you have Flowers, you have Andrews, you got Roquan Smith, you got Kyle Hamilton. Like there's just dudes all over this team. And to me, a coaching upgrade was made. Like Jesse Minter with this defense, it'll probably be a top 5 unit in all of football next year. Declan calling the plays. I don't know if it's upgrade or downgrade from Todd Monken. Like it's kind of still unknown, but a guy who was just under Ben Johnson, who had a ton of success, I feel like I'd be at least be excited for it. So to me, I think the Ravens are a no doubt Super Bowl level contender this year, and I think it could be their year. It's on the board. It's very possible. As always, man, those are just my thoughts. Be sure to let me know yours in the comment section down below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, please hit that like button. It's so good for the channel. We are on the road to 700 subscribers. I appreciate all of your guys' support. I will catch you next time. Peace.